Hi, good day everyone. And in this tutorial, we're going to be looking at how you can be able to make a good design. So first and foremost, the thing that you have to ask yourself is, what's it called? What's the brief about? Once someone wants to make a design, the first step is understanding what the request is all about, what the brief is all about, what the whole project is all about. So when you understand your brief, right, then you can be able to take other steps towards making a good design. So number one is that, let's take for instance, you are making and what's it called, some designs that talks about food. You want to understand the market that the client is. You want to understand the brief, because of course you have the brief that you are working with, and then it is with this brief you can be able to initiate the design that you're working on. So for this class, we are going to be taking a look at a sports design. So once a client sends and give you a brief, right, you want to first understand and start making proper steps towards the direction you want to head towards. So when you understand the brief, then you move into the part of making your research. So I'm going to be opening up some of the searches which I've made on the sport design we're going to be making today. So I'm going to be showing us how and what, and and what's it called, what my thoughts are before I put together all these images and designs. So the thing you want to ask yourself, as I mentioned, is about understanding what direction you want to head with the brief that you have. So for this case, I'm making the sport design. Yeah, so you have to, and thank God for Pinterest. So you can go on Pinterest and search on which niche or which and what's it called industry your design is in. So for this case, I want to make a sport design. So I'm going to be, just reducing much of talk so that we can be able to go into, the practical steps towards making a very good design. So I also went online to find an image that I'll be using for my design. So I found this an image interesting. So I just had the background removed. I even use what's it called, free pick automatic, and what's it called, background remover for this. So I'm going to bring in my image into the artboard which I've created. So now that I've made a proper research towards my industry, and I'm looking towards this different mood board. So the essence of the mood board is to give you direction towards what you want to make, right? You want to understand you want to get inspiration towards the style you want to head for. So when you look at so many mood boards, you look at so many references, you understand you are going to have a lot of ideas and direction towards how and what your design should look like. So I'm going to be using one of this design. I think I will be going for this style of design. So you have to make sure that you have, and when you have proper reference, then you want to look at the design and be able to understand what makes up the design. So for instance, I just like the simplicity of this design. I like that the faces are in black and white, which I'm going to be making here, and then we have maybe the cloth part is in its full color, so you understand the direction of the design. You see that the background they use is white. So let's just get into action. So I'm going to be making this style. So first thing is just to be able to set the, and what's it called, the positioning of my image well. So, and also once you have to make sure that you are also detailed in your design. One of the things that make a realistic design is making sure that the design you are making is detailed, right? Is detailed, like you look at every bit of it to understand how you can be able to make it much more realistic. So I'm going to be using my brush to just make a shadow for the hand to stay on. Of course, the hand is resting on something. So before I even start everything that I want to create, I want to make a shadow for the hand. So I'm just making a shadow where the hand is resting on the floor. So I'm making a shadow. I'm bringing it down so that the hand can be able to rest on the shadow well. You can look at this image as well, that this part of the handband, there seems to be a color there. So I'm going to go into that mask and then erase out that part. So yes, you can see that we're good to go now. So that's where the hand is resting on. You can see that the hand is resting on the floor. So I'm going to make the shadow much more broader so it can cover the hand. So but you have to make sure that all what you are creating is, you know, not just and what's it called, just assumption. You just want to make sure that it's on point, right? The shadows seems as if the hand really was on the floor. So I'm going to make a second shadow to make sure the hand is properly resting on the floor again. So I'm going to add this one, increase the opacity of my brush here, and then just make the shadow darker to the part where the hand is really making contact on the floor. So yes, that's how we have that. And when you apply shadow, just change your what's it called, shadow to multiply. So that's how you make your shadow much more realistic. So for this, I'm going to sample this color. So you can sample your color in a background color in different ways. I'm going to sample the color that we use. I just like the simplicity of the color. So I just like the move from this, you know, gray pattern and gray color. So I'm using the same gray color here. I'm just sampling the color, and then another one is this color. So I'll be making use of this color in our design. So first thing is to change your background color. Let me see. Yeah, so I like how this is, this pure white, but this is much, you can see the, and what we call, the area that the color is, yeah, just off white a bit. So yes, so that's the first step. I'm trying to save, let's just name it tutorial. Okay, so now is, you can see what they have here is that they have the bodies in black and white, and then the clothing color that we mentioned. So that's what we are doing next. We are making selection. You can make selection in different ways, just to make selection of the areas of the body that you want to have in black and white. So that's what we are doing next. You just want to make sure that when you are removing the background, you are cutting out your images. You want to make sure that it's detailed, so that you don't have parts where somebody is, you know, is mixing with the clothes. So of course you can be able to further adjust it, but just make sure that you cut your images and properly. So that's part of where you are making sure that your actions, you know, are deliberate. So I'll still come back to that, but let me first make selection of all the necessary parts. So I want the hand as well to be in black and white. Okay, so see, have the hand here. Then we're going to remove the handband. The handband is in one color, so we can still just leave the handband as it is. So we have the face here. Okay, so I'm going to make selection of what I've cut out. I'm going to make a duplicate of it. So if I hide the image under, you see what we already have here. But there's some part here that needs to be as well. This part that's his abdomen is also, we need to remove this part out. We need to add the part in actually. So we need to add this and then merge it together. So you see that we've added this. So we've have our face separate from the body. So then we can be able to what's it called, make the part in black and white as we wanted. So now, yes, so what you want to do is that you can convert it to smart object so that you can be able to maintain um, quality if you decide to scale up the design in the future. All right, see what we have here. So you can see how we have been able to move from this to this. We just cut out the parts where we want to have it in black and white, and then we have this. Okay, so moving from this now you want to now start making things together that make the design look interesting. So one of the things is having and what's it called text behind, beside, or wherever you want to add the text towards. So, but for this, I would also like to add some other elements to my design that makes the design look much more and what's it called interesting. You look at this sample now. There's a shadow that is long. Of course, it captures as if when a person jumps up, you know that there's going to be a shadow that is going to be behind the or below the leg. So that's what we have here, and it's also forming a ground, you understand, where the leg is jumping up. So for this case, that our own character is up. So what we can do is to depict that maybe there's a shadow that what's it called, that the legs are also reflecting on the floor. Of course, it's not going to be as sharp or as what's it called, intense, but we can make it minimal. So I'm going to make a duplicate and then scale up our shadow. So I think I'll have to create another one because of the mask we have here up. We can duplicate this, so we can duplicate this and then scale this up, so we can easily adjust. I think we have, okay, I didn't paint the shadow here before, so we can initially paint this or add another one. So let's just add a new shadow. So let's add a new shadow, black, and then we can decide what we want to do this. So just scale it up and then reduce the opacity. So it has to be behind our own hand, because if you decide to put it down, what that means that you are saying that the hand is not on the floor anymore. So, but here we have to make sure that the shadow is on the floor, and then we can reduce the opacity, so it just captures the leg, and can reduce the scale, bring it, yes, so it depicts that the what's it called, the legs is also creating a shadow. I'm just scaling it up a bit so that the floor is and what's called much more reflected. All right, so we have this. So things that you can start adding is, and since the design we are going for is minimal, so what you can look for is just to look for maybe grunge, to have that feeling of sports. Let's say grunge, um, or let's say noise background. So what I'm doing is just to make some searches on and free pick to look for noise backgrounds that we can be able to apply to this, that will have that feeling of grunginess but minimal on the design. So that's what I'm currently doing on my second and what's it called and screen here. Okay, I've seen one, so I'm going to be adding it to the image. Now you can see this. So of course it's not going to be as sharp as this, so I'm scaling it up, then reducing the opacity. So just reducing the opacity more so that we can have texture that texture into it here. So you can see that this texture is not much as intense as it was before. I'm going to put it at 5. So you can use your number keys to set opacity. If you do 7, then you have the and what's it called, the green at 7. If you do 1, you have at 10. But you can also come here to reduce it. So I want something like 0.8, just 8, so that it's going to be. I just want 0.8, not 80, please. So here's something. Well, let's just leave it 10. Let's do 10. So there's another part where I always had what's it called, my green. So it's just something as the green that you've seen earlier, but this one is the one I've created just to have everything at the top of the design. So I'm bringing it in now. So you can find a green online, but maybe in coming tutorials I'll be teaching on how you can be able to create your own green. So this is my own green. I'm just reducing it to have that feel on the design as well, not to make it too smooth, just to have that grunginess in the design. So I'm going to add another thing. I'll add my sharpen, just to make the image more sharpen. So I'm adding it to the clothes. I'm also going to be adding it to the face, because we've separated the body from the face. So I'm going to add one more again. So if it's seeming too much, you can definitely reduce it. So I'll add to the what's it called again, so it we have to sharpen on the on the clothes and on the face. So that's what we have here. So what you want to do now is to look for, maybe let's just add a text, and remember that and what's it called, you can communicate, and in our last class we talked about communicating and emotions with your typography. So if you know that what you are creating now is sport, you have to find font that matches with sports. So I think I have a font here called Adidas, which you can be able to use for this case. So you can see that this has that sporty feel. So I'm looking for, what should we call this? SPT, just short form SPT. So it's sports. So just to have something behind him, and then what you want to do is to bring your text behind, and then have it in also black. So I'm choosing this black here. You can see that it's not so, and what's it called, visible. You can change the color and then make it a bit visible like this. Yes, let's name it sports SPT. We will still have some text to support it. So we're having this here. So we have this SPT. So you can, this is a design, so you can decide to play with it. Now that you've been able to achieve, the simplicity, the what's it called, the style you are going for, you've achieved that, then you can go creative and add your own spice towards the design as well. It does not have to be the same thing that you're replicating again, you understand. So you can decide. So I'm going to be making this and stroke. I'm going to and what's it called, take out the opacity. I'm going to leave out the few, and then go into my, just double click your SPT layer, and then go into your stroke and then add a stroke. So I'm going to be using this same color, and then the opacity is already set to 100. Let me see the radius. Okay, so you're meant to actually, so there's a, so let me set to 2. So you are supposed to take out the fill actually and leave the opacity to 100. So that's how you have your text in, and what's it called, I have the stroke without the fill. So I want to read and increase the weight of the stroke. So come to the stroke and the size, yes, just I think 7 is okay. So, and then you can just change the opacity. So you just have something there, but it's not so obvious that you have it there. So let me lock my grain so I can be able to select this. Bring this down. It's too, I needed to show a little bit more. Yeah, so bring it up. So what I'm going to be doing is to convert to smart object so that I can be able to erase out some parts of it. Let me change my brush back to how it was, and then just make this to blend with the background. So then we can have supportive text for sports, go, just comment randomly, let's go for the game, so, and also when you are making minimal design like this, you will notice that the reference that we are using, you can see that there's not too much of color. So it's not a situation where you now start having so many colors all around, having yellow, having red, having everything. You have to be deliberate about the mood which your design should be. So you have to, so if you have not watched the, and what's it called, last class, I'm going to be linking it up there so you can be able to see for how, there you have to be deliberate about every actions you take. So go for the game. It's just, so I'm just adding random text. It's just for the love of the game. So I'm going to make this, I can use, let's use an Maro font. So it's just to have supportive text to make, the design look better. So if you are looking at the image, looking at the typography, just everything to support. So I'm making this, you can make this. So this is the thing, they have left alignment. You can decide to make yours, and what's it called, and center alignment. So I'm going to be using center alignment for this. you can see that you yourself can be able to, make the design unique to what you initially want. So it's not about, replicating word for word, design for design. Go for the game. So I'll choose sports hour. The sports hour. See. So we go all in tomorrow. Don't miss this for anything. Okay, so just adding random text to it, but I don't want it to be too much. Of course, sometimes you cannot control this. If it's a claim that you are making this for, you have to use all the text, and then just make sure you are using it creatively. You understand? So where you can be able to take, the creative freedom of breaking the text up, you can decide to do that. So I'm just trying to centralize this to make sure that everything is centralized. That's part of making sure everything you do is deliberate. So I'm bringing it down. Let's say, for instance, you want to have, logo here, so we can be able to keep the logo up here. So okay, so let me just pick one of our logo and then put it there. So let's go into just trying to pick our logos. Okay, so let me just use our icon. So I'm dragging in our icon, placing it up there to replace the box. Alright, you don't want to make the logo look to be right. So but just make sure that it's minimal and it's also visible. You have to find the middle between simplicity and and design. So yes, we have this now, and you can see that, and should in case this is not visible, of course you can make sure the text is readable, because that's one of the things, the information that you are passing across, you have to make sure they are well visible. You don't want your your target audience to struggle with reading the text if you want it like this. But I think this is too much, so you can just yes, make it minimal but visible for people to be able to read. So I think this is still fine, right? This is still fine. So it's subtle, and then you can still read what is there. So for our logo, you can increase it in Node.js. So that's how you you brainstorm towards the ideas and the designs you initially have in mind, and then looking at references, looking at what you can do to make the design look good. You understand? So if I want to add some things here, I can just add sports, because we've abbreviated the other one. So I can do sports and then space the sports and come to, and here just the spaces. So that is your own and your tracking. So since it's abbreviated, you want people to be able to, so let's say sports, then you can just have the sports. So I'm still going to space it more. So space it more. So yes, you can see you have your sports. So you can decide to bring it down here. But if you are bringing it down here, that means that the text is not going to be visible. So you have to also take note of that, and then make sure you set it to where you want to set it to. And let me increase the, just make it fade more. So here we go. So then you can decide, let's say for instance there's a date towards when the event is happening. All the other informations you can put, or let's say 7 beautiful gate streets. So just let's say you want to have other information, and then you want to have some other things here, so you can have the other information here. So what's 7 So beautiful get straight. Uh, Avenue. So, and then you want to have your time, maybe your dates. This can be minimal, and then you can have the other information here as well. So, and also when you group them together, you want to centralize it. So you have, when the measurement is taken from the left and right, it has to be equal. So then you can have your information here. Maybe let's say 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. 8 to 9, 8 to 9 p.m. Let's say it's Saturday, 8 to 9 p.m. So West African time, WAT. Okay. So I think it's not accepting, the Adidas font is not accepting symbols. That's why we are not seeing that symbols behind of what I'm adding it to. But let's just let's have it. So these are one of the things that maybe the font has paid version and has free version. Might not be able to get the elements that they have not given to you for free. So we can just use another font here that maybe might and fit that part. So I don't know if we have any font that's okay. I think a big deal will work. So you have to find a font that fits the text. You can see that the one I'm using is almost as if it's so yeah. So there we go. So of course, so you can decide to spice things up and beautify it, go to the length, have so many things that you want. But the idea is from you to go from the idea, you have the brief right, you conceptualize on which direction you want to go for. After you've conceptualized the direction you want to go for, you fully understand what the information you want to pass across is, and then you now go towards making a research of references. You can make use of Pinterest, search on Pinterest, find references that suits what you need, and then you can be able to now say, okay, this is the direction I want, and then you can go for it. So that's it for this tutorial. So for the coming tutorials, I'm going to be diving more into much more practical steps in which we can be able to create amazing designs, which we can be able to go from just the blank and white blank space to something really, really communicative. So, and this is all for this class. If you are not yet a subscriber, please make sure you subscribe, you know, hit the like button, and if you find the tutorial helpful, also leave a comment and also share with people that you know this class would be of much interest with. In coming classes, we're going to be diving much more deeper, looking at different design ideas and how you can be able to recreate some of it. All right, thank you all for joining. Have a wonderful time.